Welcome to What Dwells Beneath, the podcast where we hunt the shadows, the stories that make your skin crawl and your heart race. I'm your host, Perzival, pulling you into the dark tonight with tales that cling like a fog you can't outrun. We're diving into your stories, dwellers. Listener encounters that prove danger lurks where you least expect it. It's late, the world's too quiet, and you're alone on a desolate road or facing a house that feels wrong. Your gut screams run, but the threat hides in the gloom. From a Midwest night shift stalked by a sinister car, to an Ohio mansion whispering of murder, to a Georgia kid facing a shadow that shouldn't exist, and a DoorDash driver trapped in a true crime nightmare. These tales weave terror and truth into a chill that'll haunt you. Lock your doors, check your mirrors, and step into the darkness with me. These close calls will hit you where you live. I got 4 listener encounters that'll make you rethink that late night walk or lonely delivery run. These aren't just tales to shiver at, they're warnings carved in fear, where instincts meant the difference between escape and oblivion. Each story carries a weight. True crime's cold grip, the paranormal's icy breath, leaving echoes of what might have been. The air's heavy tonight, dwellers. So let's step into the first encounter, written in by Alex, about how their walk home turned into a race for survival. Alex wrote in, "I'm a huge fan of the podcast. I've been listening since I stumbled across it during a late night study session about 2 months ago. My name's Alex. I'm 22, and I'm a junior at a small college in the Midwest, pursuing a journalism major. I've never written into a podcast before, but your call for listener stories really piqued my interest. I had an experience a few years back that still keeps me up at night, and I think it fits the vibe of your show. It's not quite a serial killer showdown or anything, but it's the kind of thing that makes you wonder how close you came to being a statistic. Here's my story. 2 years ago, I was back in my hometown, a place where everybody knows everybody. I was working part-time at a local diner to save up for the fall semester. The diner is one of those 24-hour joints, all chrome and neon, serving truckers and insomniacs. I usually worked the evening shift, which meant I'd get off around 11 p.m. and I'd walk home. It was a little over a mile, and I've done it 100 times. The streets were quiet, lined with old houses and big oak trees, and I always felt safe. But this one night, July 17th, I'll never forget, things felt off. It was a muggy evening, and I was exhausted after a double shift. I clocked out, grabbed my backpack, and started my usual walk home. The diner's on the edge of town, near a stretch of road that cuts through wooded area before hitting the residential streets. There's a gas station about halfway, but other than that, it's just you and the sound of crickets. About 10 minutes into my walk, I noticed a car idling on the shoulder up ahead. It was an older sedan, dark-colored, maybe black or navy, hard to tell under the streetlight. I didn't think much of it at first. People sometimes pull over to text or whatever. But as I got closer, I realized the car was parked weird, like it was angled to block part of the sidewalk. My gut started doing that thing, when your body picks up on something your brain hasn't caught up to yet. I slowed down, pretending to check my phone, trying to scope it out without being obvious. The driver's side window was down, and I could see a guy inside, maybe in his 30s, wearing a baseball cap pulled low. He was just sitting there, staring straight ahead, not moving, no phone, no cigarette, nothing. Just sitting still. I told myself I was being paranoid, probably just some dude waiting for someone. But then he turned his head, real slow, and looked right at me. Not like a casual glance, but almost as if he was studying me. His eyes were under the cap, but I swear I felt them lock onto me. My stomach dropped. I kept walking, picking up my pace, sticking to the far edge of the sidewalk. The gas station was maybe 5 minutes away, and I'd figured I'd feel better once I got there. But then I heard it, the low rumble of an engine starting. I glanced back, and the car was pulling onto the road, moving slow, like it was matching my pace. My heart started hammering, because I'm tiny. I'm 5'4", skinny, not exactly intimidating. On top of that, I was alone. I didn't have pepper spray, didn't have anything, just my phone and a half-dead vape pen in my pocket. I tried to stay calm, telling myself it was a coincidence. Maybe he was just leaving. But the car stayed behind me, creeping along maybe 20 feet back. I could hear the tires crunching on the gravel's edge of the road. At this point, I started to walk faster, almost jogging, and the car sped up just enough to keep the distance. By now, I was freaking out, but trying not to show it. I didn't want to run and make it obvious I was scared, but every horror story I'd ever heard of was screaming in my head. I decided to call my friend Jake, who didn't live that far away. I put my phone to my ear loud enough that anyone nearby could hear me talking. I said, "Hey man, yeah, I'm almost at the gas station. Are you nearby?" This was a fake conversation because Jake didn't pick up. But I kept talking like he did, describing where I was, hoping I'd make it seem less like an easy target. But the car was still there, and now it was closer, maybe 10 feet behind me. I could see the guy's silhouette in my peripheral vision, still staring. The gas station was finally in sight, and I practically sprinted the last 100 yards, my backpack bouncing against my spine. When I got to the lot, I ducked inside the convenience store and I stood by the counter, pretending to browse for energy drinks. The clerk, an older guy named Raymond, who knew me from the diner, gave me a nod. I glanced out the window and the car was parked across the street, just sitting there. No one got out, and I honestly felt like it was waiting on me. I stayed in the store for maybe 10 minutes, texting Jake for real this time, asking him to come get me. Raymond noticed I was acting weird and asked if I was okay. I told him about the car, trying to sound chill but probably failing. He looked out the window, squinted, and said, "That guy's been here before. He hangs out sometimes, but never buys anything." That didn't exactly make me feel better. Jake showed up in his beat-up Honda, and I practically dove into the passenger seat. As we pulled out and looked back, the car was gone. No trace, like it never been there. I told Jake everything, and he said I was probably overreacting, but I could tell he was spooked too. When I got home, I locked every door and window and barely slept. The next day, I mentioned it to my boss at the diner, and she got wide-eyed, like she knew something. Turns out, a couple weeks earlier, a girl who worked the night shift at the pharmacy a few towns over had gone missing after a shift. They found her car abandoned and no sign of her. The police hadn't released much, but there had been reports of a dark sedan seen near the area around the same time. My boss didn't want to scare me, but she said I should probably start getting rides home. I started digging online, looking for anything about the missing girl. There wasn't much, just a few local news articles and some posts on our town's Facebook page about a suspicious vehicle spotted in other nearby towns. One post mentioned a guy in a baseball cap who had been seen loitering near businesses late at night. But no arrests, no leads, just vague descriptions that sounded way too familiar. I don't know if it was the same guy, but the thought made my skin crawl. For weeks, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I'd see a car slow down near me and my heart would race. I started carrying pepper spray, and I would get coworkers or Jake to drive me home after shifts. I even told my mom, who freaked out and made me promise never to walk alone at night again. I haven't seen that car since, and looking back, I don't know how close I came to something bad. Maybe the guy was just a creep, or maybe he was waiting for someone else. But the way he stared, the way he followed me, it didn't feel random. I kept thinking about how I was alone, how no one would have heard me if something happened. I don't know if I dodged a bullet or just scared myself silly, but I'm not taking chances anymore. Thanks for letting me share this. It's been cathartic to write it out. Keep the creepy stories coming, and maybe let your listeners know, trust your gut. It might just save you. Alex, 22, Midwest. Alex, that is a gut punch of a story. That slow, predatory stare and the pace he kept up with you like a hunter. It's the stuff of nightmares. Your quick thinking with that fake call to Jake may have been your lifeline. Be tied to the missing pharmacy worker and the reports of the dark sedan in the area, it's chilling how close you might have come to a predator. Small towns feel safe, but those quiet roads are perfect for someone to vanish. Your instincts were spot on, and I'm glad you're still here to tell the tale. Next, we've got Danielle from Mount Vernon, Ohio, with a story that blends true crime and the paranormal. Here's her submission. I'm writing in about a creepy experience I had with the Curtis Mansion, known around here as the Mansion on the Hill. Right across from my house, ever since we moved in, I've been obsessed with its history, and it's like the place has a hold on me. One night last summer, I felt this strange pull to walk the mansion's grounds. It was dark, the air was heavy, and I felt like I, personally, was the only sign of life. Then, out of the first floor window, I saw a woman running inside, like she was fleeing something. Her dress looked old, maybe 1800 style, and she vanished before I could process it. The mansion's been empty for years, so it freaked me out. I started digging into the mansion's past, and I found out a housemaid named Eliza was murdered there in the late 1800s, shot as she left work one night. The killer was never caught. I also learned my house used to be a doctor's office for the mansion's visitors, and people died here. My basement's always freezing with this creepy hole in the wall, dirt packed like it was built to hold bodies. There's also a tunnel under the mansion that leads to Mound View Cemetery, which just adds to the eerie vibe. I haven't seen that woman again, but I still feel watched when I look at the mansion, like it's hiding something dark. Danielle, your story gave me chills. That woman running in an empty mansion, the pull to those grounds, it's like the place wanted you to see its secrets. I dug into the Curtis Mansion, built in 1854 by Henry Barnes Curtis, a banker and an abolitionist, on South Main Street, Mount Vernon. The Ohio Exploration Society confirms its Underground Railroad ties with secret passages and sealed tunnel to Mound View Cemetery for hiding runaway slaves. Locals report ghostly footsteps and, I hope you're ready for this, a woman in a white dress running near the mansion or cemetery, matching what you saw. Now, I couldn't verify Eliza's murder. 1870s records are spotty, especially for maids, but small-town legends often hold truth. Your house as a doctor's office is plausible. Nearby properties were used for medical care and deaths were common. The basement hole, it could be for storage, but it's got crypt written all over it. The mansion's heavy with history, fear, violence, and secrets. That running woman could have been a spirit echo or a ghost echo, someone caught in a loop fleeing their killer, or it's just another lost soul. Regardless, stay safe, Danielle, and keep those porch lights on. Next comes from Drake, who is actually a close friend of mine, with a paranormal tale that'll make you rethink sleeping in the dark. I'm Drake from Commerce, Georgia, and I'm writing about a terrifying paranormal experience from when I was in middle school. Around 12 years old, living in a creepy old house in the countryside. It was out in the middle of nowhere, down a long gravel driveway, with crumbling horse stables we could barely get into, and a small private family cemetery from the folks who owned the place decades ago. The house itself was filled with creaky wooden floors and never felt right in it. Like something unseen was always there, watching. I'd hear footsteps echoing through the house at night, even when I was home alone on the couch, which was freaky enough. But one night, when my parents were out on a date and a friend's older sister was babysitting, things got way worse. It was late, and I was the only one still awake, watching The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody on the little TV in my shared bedroom. My younger brother and the babysitter were crashed out on the bottom bunk of the bunk bed we shared. The top bunk was close to the ceiling fan, which I'd left spinning that night. Out of nowhere, I started feeling this weird anxiety, something I'd never experienced before. I hugged my pillow tighter, trying to shake it off, but then I heard footsteps coming from the direction of my parents' bedroom. That was impossible. My parents were still out of town, and everyone else in the house was asleep right there in that room. I kept my eyes on the TV, just a couple feet away from the bedroom door, trying to ignore the sounds. Then I saw it. A tall, black figure moved into the door frame. It was at least 6 feet, nearly filling the frame, and it turned to face me, like it knew I was there. It stood there for maybe 3 seconds, just staring, before it rushed me, fast, like something out of a nightmare. I blacked out. When I came to, I was soaked in sweat, shaking uncontrollably for over an hour. The ceiling fan was still going, the TV was still on, but I was a wreck. I've never been able to explain it, and most people don't believe me when I tell them. But I know what I saw, what I felt, and what happened. That night changed me, and it's why I'll always believe in the paranormal. That house had something in it, and I'll never forget it. Drake, that is terrifying. A shadow figure charging at you while you're watching TV, I'd be a wreck too. Your story screams shadow person, and you're not the only one to have this experience. Dark humanoid shapes are reported worldwide, often in doorways, moving fast like you described. They're featureless, sometimes with glowing eyes, tied to places with heavy history, old houses, cemeteries, trauma. Your rural home with that family cemetery fits that bill. To add, the figure's awareness, staring before rushing, suggests something intelligent and not just an echo. Blacking out is rare, but documented in shadow person cases where fear can overwhelm you. The house was holding to something dark, maybe tied to the cemetery's past, but who knows. Thank you for sharing, Drake, and I hope you're sleeping better now. Now, our final story comes from an anonymous listener, a college student DoorDashing in a rural area. This one's pure true crime and it's harrowing. Here is their submission as written. I'm going to remain anonymous here and avoid using my name and where I'm from. I started listening to your podcast after the Lady of the Dunes episode, and I have really enjoyed what I've been hearing. Since you asked for listener encounters, I have one. I was DoorDashing to cover rent while taking classes at my local college, and what happened on a delivery night was just insane. And I have even gone to therapy because of it. On top of that, I still check my logs twice and avoid rural roads at night because of it. Now here's what would know. It was a human night around 10:45 p.m. when I accepted a DoorDash order for a drop-off at a house on the outskirts of town. The address was deep in a rural area. Think narrow, poorly lit roads winding through thick woods near the town's river. I'd done late deliveries before, so I didn't think twice, even if the app's map seemed to glitch, barely showing the route. I figured it was just a customer living off the grid, common enough around here. The road turned to gravel, trees closing in, and my headlights caught nothing but darkness. The house was a rundown single-story place, half swallowed by overgrown weeds, with a flickering porch light that barely reached the yard. No cars in the driveway, no signs of life, just the silence that made my neck prickle. I grabbed the bag, which was an order from Arby's, and I locked my car. Habit from too many sketchy drop-offs. As I walked up, I noticed the front door's lock was mangled, like someone had taken a screwdriver to it. My stomach twisted, but I brushed it off as maybe just an old, beat-up house. I knocked, rang the doorbell, and got nothing. No footsteps, no light, just the hum of bugs outside. I checked the app to see if there was anything specific I was supposed to do. The name is listed as KL, with instructions to leave it at the door. But something felt off. The silence was heavy, and I couldn't shake the feeling like I was being watched. As I set the bag down, I heard a slow crunch of gravel from the side of the house. I immediately pulled my phone up just in case I needed to call the police, and my heart was pounding. I stopped and I scanned the yard. For a split second, I caught eyes of something in the dark. Not like an animal, but at head height, maybe 20 feet away in the bushes. It was a person, and they locked onto me, unblinking, then vanished and ducked in between the bushes. I froze, my breath catching. I fumbled for my phone to call the customer's number to see if it was them, but it went disconnected with no tone. There was no voicemail, just a dead line. Now I was really freaking out. I backed toward my car, eyes remaining in that area so I could see something coming. But that's when I noticed the porch light flicker like something passed in front of it. I didn't wait to find out what. I pressed the unlock of my keys, jumped in my car, locked the doors, and I called my friend who also dashes. I told her about the delivery, the place, and how the door looked broken into. She said to report it and get out of there. As I pulled away, my headlights swept across the yard, and I saw them. A tall figure in a hoodie, standing just beyond the trees, holding something that caught the light. Maybe it was a knife, maybe it was a tool, I'm unsure. But then that's when I noticed the second one. It was standing on the opposite side, closer near the house like he was sneaking up on me. He had a ball cap and a medical mask on. My blood ran cold. I floored it, tires spinning on the gravel, and I didn't stop until I hit a gas station on the main road. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely text. I reported the order as undeliverable through the app and told DoorDash support about the busted lock and the two men. They said they'd flag the account and pass it to local authorities. A few days later, I saw a news article about a string of break-ins targeting rural homes. Scammers were placing fake delivery orders through apps like DoorDash to lure drivers either to rob them or case the house. One article mentioned a local driver who'd been followed after a drop-off, and another about an abandoned car found near the river that was broken into and set on fire. No arrests, but the police were looking into a pattern of prepaid orders with fake names and disconnected numbers. My orders KL-Max.mo, and the app later confirmed the account was banned for fraud. I stopped dashing entirely after that. It's awful pay, and no guarantee you'll make what the app says you will. Plus, it's not worth losing your life. Wow, that is a lot to unpack. I will say, when I first read your story, it had me leaning forward in my chair. Two figures, one with a possible knife, the other sneaking up with a mask. That's a trap straight out of a horror flick. The busted lock, those eyes in the bushes, it's like you were seconds from walking into an ambush. Fake delivery scams are real. News reports confirm they target drivers in rural areas for robberies or worse. That KL account and the burned out car nearby screams organized crime. I also used to deliver for DoorDash back in the day, and this was a fear of mine. You trusted your gut and got out just in time. I'm glad you're safe and sharing this warning with us. I will like to add this though. If you're a gig worker, and this includes DoorDash, Uber, any food delivery or ride sharing app, if anything like this happens to you, if you feel unsafe in any way, please contact the authorities first. Letting support know on these apps must come second. Your life is priority number one. This is a real fear of mine, and gig workers are targeted every single day. So please, if you're out there delivering food or giving someone a ride home late at night, be aware and be safe. But dwellers, what a journey through the shadows. Alex escaping a stalker's gaze, Danielle facing a ghost tied to a cold case, Drake confronting a shadow that charged, and our anonymous dasher dodging a deadly trap. These stories weave a web of fear where human and paranormal threats lurk too close. Your instincts are your shield, and these listeners prove it. Thanks to Alex, Danielle, Drake, and our anonymous friend for bearing their nightmares with us. You got me checking my locks twice tonight. Before we wrap up tonight's episode, I do want to let you know you can now plunge deeper into the dark with What Dwells Beneath on Patreon. It's live, and for $2.50 a month, you can become a supporter and get a personalized shout out in an episode, plus my eternal thanks. Or join as a dweller for $5 a month and unlock the articles, our exclusive bite-sized podcast on fresh true crime and paranormal events, behind-the-scenes posts, monthly digital downloads, and a monthly Q&A, plus a shout-out when you join, and a nice, comfy 10% off future merch. Our artist Arcadia, or Raya to Me, is crafting something spooky. Check taverndwellers.com for more details soon. You got a close call or an eerie encounter, send it via the Tavern Dwellers Discord or the submission form at taverndwellers.com. We also now accept submissions over email. You can email us at whatdwellspod@gmail.com. When writing in, please title your email with listener submission and what you would title the submission. We will be attaching this email to every single episode, so it'll make it easy for copy and paste. Next, be sure to rate us on Spotify or Apple. It keeps me chasing these shadows. If you're listening on Spotify, please rate us 5 stars and follow the podcast. We are approaching 50 5-star ratings. Thank you so much for this. It means the world that so many have enjoyed the show. Next, be sure to leave a comment and respond to the poll. All interactions here help the podcast on Spotify's discoverability pages. If you're wanting more content from me, Perzival, I also have gaming content on YouTube and Twitch. You can find a link to those in the episode description as well. We're back next week with another tale to haunt your nights. Until then, stay safe, stay sharp, and keep one eye on the dark.